to being able to business plan and understand for, especially now that we're coming into the fall of this year, we're all going to be creating business plans in October for our 2015 budgets. And knowing your numbers is key in being able to create a business plan, which we're all going to help you do. If you start now by tracking your business, you'll be able to set up a business plan based on knowing your numbers, such as how many appointments does it take in order for you to acquire a listing or a buyer agency? How many buyer agencies or listings does it take for you to have a under contract? How many under contracts does it take for you to actually have a closing? So I'm going to hand you several different ways to track your business to help you. You will find there's a gazillion different forms and ways to do this. This is just how I've kind of done my business, and you're welcome to use them. I have these available in an Excel spreadsheet that you can use, and it helps me to know the source of my business, how much money I'm making, how much cap I've paid in, and being able to even track my sales statistics, which is pretty cool. Not everybody is going to want to take this to this level. If at basic, all you're doing is tracking the number of calls that you make, the appointments that you set, and the results of those, and your closings, and the money that you make, that will get you pretty far, and you're still going to be doing more than the average real estate agent out there. However, the more detailed you take your tracking, the more efficient your business planning is going to be. It's going to be much more helpful for you. So the first thing I want to show you, yes, I am, thank you. But whatever's coming off that printer, if I could have it, if you don't mind just handing it in, that would be great. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you is, this is actually my ALC Numbers Tracker. So as you may or may not know, the ALC, your Agent Leadership Council Committee, actually is required to post their goal numbers and their activity tracking, and it's on that whiteboard in the back. This document is actually a mimic of what needs to be tracked for ALC. And the way that it works, and this is the form you're about to get, is this is a spreadsheet that has formulas in it that at any time I can pull this. Thank you very much. Is that enough? Yes, that's great. Okay, this is going to go, and let me make some copies of this. This is going to go January.
Do you have the clipboard? I don't see it.
It's right here. Start that for me. Thank you. Okay. So how it's going to work is, this is just the tally sheet that totals up the appointments and will take care of my closing percentage for buyer agencies, appointments, listings, contracts. It'll total my listings closed and buyers closed and what my goals are. So this is just a blank form. So how it works is, let's say we're starting with the month of January. So there's one page specifically for January. Down here in this section of the spreadsheet, you simply type in the name or the address of your listing appointment. So if I had a listing appointment at 1234 Main Street, I can just simply type that in as the address. So that's my placeholder. If I got the listing, then I'm simply going to add it in, 1234 Main Street. I'm going to come up to the top and just total that I went on one listing appointment and I took one. The reason that I have you write in the name of the address and or last name of the person, however it's easier for you to track it, is just so that when you look at the end of the month, you can make sure you got everybody counted. Okay. Then moving forward to the buyer appointments, let's say that we took 3 buyer agency appointments with Bob Smith, Sally Jones, and Susie, buyer. That's 3. But I only got agency signed with Bob, Sally, and I didn't get Susie. So I'm going to come up here and tally that at the end of the month that it's 2. If I wrote any contracts, so let's say I had a listing that I took a couple months ago that I finally got under contract, I'm going to type in just the name or the street address. So let's say it's 206 Walnut. Now the ALC is required to track profit share referrals. That may be something you are or not focusing on. If you're not, just ignore it. And listings closed and buyers closed. So if I actually closed a deal with, let's say I closed a deal with Nate. Just making up names, Brown and Sally Struthers. So I've got 1 contract written, 1 listing closed, 1 buyer's closed. And all I do is type in those numbers at the end of the month. What will happen is this spreadsheet automatically calculates and gives me my January totals, shows me the closing percentage. So if I did 3 buyer agencies and closed 2, I closed 67% of my appointments.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Same thing with the listings. Now, because I did 1 and 1, I have 100%. And then it'll just show me my contracts written, my profit share referrals, listings closed, everything carries over. If you want to input your goals, you can, and then you can always track where you are year to date from the goals that you set to actually what has happened. And then as each month goes forward, then you just tally in. There is the Excel spreadsheet, it shows. There is a page for every single month of the year, and all you do is at the end of the month is you total in your numbers. So without writing in all the names, I'm just going to put in a few numbers here.
Is that included in your tools?
I will. It is a form I created that I will give you.
Oh,
And so I actually have it on a drive right up here, or we can email it to you, or you can copy it down if you have your own thumb drive. I'm happy to do that. And so now, if I go to my totals, I put in the 3rd quarter numbers, see how they're carrying over. Now it's giving me my totals. So I went on 15 listing appointments, I took 8, that's a closing percentage of 53%. Buyer appointments taken, 18, I took actually 10 agencies, again, 56% closing percentage. This gives me my month over month. This is the total. How many contracts did I write? How many listings did I close? How many buyers did I close? Does that make sense? This is very simple, very easy. It's very basic tracking. Now, as I get closings, make this a little bit bigger for you guys. This is my commission tracker. This is the one that's in blue. This is my visual. So every time I take a contract pending, I'm going to write it down as a contract pending, the address, the sales price, the closing date, and the commission amount. Now I'm tracking gross commission. And any additional commission if you're taking admin fees or additional fees. And then the agent net. Now the agent net is after any cap and royalty paid to Keller Williams or coaching fees or anything like that comes out of my check. I am writing in the team member's name if I have a team, a referral paid, referral received, buyer sides, buyer source, listing sides, listing source. So this is how I'm sourcing where my business comes from. And I keep a tally off to the right this is manual, so you're gonna have, so if you have a sign call that gets converted, you're gonna write down buyer side 1, buyer source sign call. Then I'm gonna come over here to this section right here, find sign call, and enter in buying side 1. This is totally editable, so you can put sources in, like you may have sources that are different, and so you can change these sources for whatever is applicable to your business. If you have, like I know Matt and Edie probably also use different website, lead generating websites, different like Boomtown or other Tiger Lead, stuff like that, you can have a Tiger Lead category. And that way you can track what's actually closing off of those particular websites. And that is how I would know at the end of, you know, a quarter or 6 months or a year, is the money that I paid in to advertise for that XYZ site or blog or whatever it is that I spent money on, did it give me a return on my investment? And I'm looking to make at least 4 to 5 times my money. Whenever I make, 10 would be ideal. But if something I spend money on will at least pay me back 4 times over, so if I spend $100 on something, I'm making at least $4,000. If I make a little bit more, it's still okay. I mean, if I make less, it's fine, as long as I'm getting my money back. But you're not gonna know that if you're not tracking it. And so what I'm most worried about is when I make money, where did that source come from? And you could certainly track your leads in. If you're using a database management system, like Top Producer, even eEdge, there's a way to track the sources so that you know just how many leads are you getting in from a certain source. If you want to take it to that next level, you certainly can, and I would use a database management system to help you do that. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay? All right.
I have a question
Yes.
for like the bonus. I got a bonus with this last deal.
Uh-huh.
Does that just go under commission or somewhere
Yeah,
else?
I probably would have just lumped that into commission.
Okay.
If you want to track it under the additional column, because that was additional
That was my other
money, it
question,
wasn't
yeah.
like 3%, you know, or whatever the percent is, you know, money. You could do that. I think you can customize this however you want. I have some formulas in it to give me monthly totals, because I kind of use this as my vision tool of what money am I about to make, so that I know when my light is green and when my light is red. So if I'm filling out future commission and I can see that next month I have 10 closings and there's 40 grand coming in, sweet, my light's probably green, and you know, I can maybe experiment with a little bit of advertising money or pull some more money out of my business for profit to go buy something cool. Just make it a happy story. So if my light is red, if I'm looking at this commission tracker and I've only got a couple of deals here and there and I know I have expenses coming up, then I'm going to know that my light is red. This is just a way for you to kind of quickly look into the future. I also have a visual tracker that is a notebook rack in my office. So every deal that I put together goes into a physical notebook, all the copies of the contracts and the file compliance and everything, and then that goes in a rack. And then I know when my rack is full, life is good. Walk into my office and the rack is empty or a little sketchy, and yeah, Carolyn's not happy, okay? So there's different ways that you can track, but this is kind of what works for me. At the end of the year, this will also total everything for you, so you can track your gross sales volume, your GCI, which is gross commission income, and your net. If you would like, there is also a lead agent cap tracker. So I always like to track when my cap is going to be paid, because I think that's fun, to be 100%. And our system with MyKW, if you log into MyKW, it gives you a dashboard with a little gas gauge of where you are on cap, but it's always about 30 to 45 days behind. So if you've closed 5 deals this month, that's not going to reflect until the first part of the month following, when Jamie does our financial transmittals. So I always like to know, especially when I get down to that $16,000, $17,000 mark, when's the deal that I'm going to be 100%. So I like to manually track my cap. So all I do is just write down each closing, how much my cap and royalty is. If I'm donating to KW Cares or other charities within our system, or I'm taking money out for office bill or anything else, you can use these extra columns here for that. and then it'll give you the running actual net total of what commission you're receiving after the cap and royalties are paid. Okay? Not everybody's gonna wanna take it to that level. If that does not interest you, I mean, it should if you're a true business owner, but if it does not interest you, just don't use that page. Like, in other words, use what works, because I think that's the best tracking system, is the one you're gonna use. And you may be able to look at some of these forms and go, you know what, that's not important, but this is, so I'm gonna create my own form, or I'll go look for a form that matches what I have. If you asked, you know, the 20 to 30, you know, people in this office that sell the most real estate, everybody uses some sort of a little bit of a different system, and you can get ideas off of people from that. The other thing that I think is fun, I actually went to a long time ago, we did, when the market was down, Gary Keller wrote The Shift, we had a book club, and we invited other agents from other offices to come to our book club. And an agent that came from the book club that was not with Keller Williams showed how he got price reductions and or correct pricing when he took the listing from the seller by showing that person their statistics on what they recommended the price, thank you, what they recommended for a price to list the property at, what they ultimately listed the property for, and then ultimately what it sold for. And at the end of this, so here you got the address, the customer's price, your recommended price, what you listed it at, what the listing price was when you got the offer, and the final sales price, any closing costs that were paid, and what the net sales price was. Now there are times when tracking this, it does not work in my favor to show this information, and sometimes it does. When it does work in your favor, you can use this chart to say, Mr. Seller, if you take my advice, sellers that do will sell 99% of their sales price. Sellers that overprice will sell for 85% of their sale price because it takes time to reduce, and generally we end up going under the price that I recommended if we had just priced it right to start. Same thing for the buyers. You can track the same type of statistics, so what your offer was that you made, what the listing price was, what closing costs or any other incentives that you got, and keep track of what your own negotiating sales list price or list price to get price is on a buyer. And in a buyer's consultation, be able to say, Mr. Buyer, you know, the average list price to sales price ratio in Clay County is 97%. I negotiate 95%. That means on an average $200,000 house, you're gonna save an extra couple grand working with me. Isn't that great? But if you don't know your numbers, you can't have that conversation. And again, there's gonna be times when that number isn't going to be a good number. It's not gonna be above what average is. But again, if you're tracking it and it's a goal or something that you focus on, it's something that will become a reality at some point. When you know that the numbers work in your favor, it just gives you an extra script and an extra tool in your tool belt on how to convert better leads and how to get better pricing on your properties. Good? Good. All right, the next form I have, much easier.
Yeah.
This is my focus list. I find, especially when I get super busy, that I may talk to buyers, talk to sellers, I may even get buyer agency signed and get listing signed, but we don't actually do business with that client for a while. So I may sign a buyer agency with you, but you've got to go get your loan approval, your lease isn't up until February. So I'm going to go ahead and sign an agency with you because that's what I do, right? Is I get you committed. I'm going to get you started in the process, but we probably don't really need to be in the car until maybe December. I have a tendency, when I get super busy, that I focus on the people that need me right now. And sometimes the commitments that I've already made will fall behind the wayside, or I'll forget about a client. I've done that with a seller where they were staging for repairs and they were extensive. And we had agreed that it would be about 30 days out. And I just got super busy like the week that, they were gonna be ready. And embarrassingly, I got a phone call of, Carolyn, I thought you guys were putting us on the market. We did everything you asked us to, where are you? I was like, I'm on my way, right? And that's really how the focus list came to be. So every time I sign in a buyer and I get the agency signed, I just keep a focus list of who do I have on my roster that will complete business with me. And then you'll notice that I have one for a seller as well. So that way, I just don't forget. I don't let that slip away. And even now, I'll give this list. This is somebody that you can call. So those of you that are in bold looking for who I call right now, if people are on your focus list, call them and just check in with them, and then ask them, hey, now that you're getting on the market, have you talked to anybody that wants their home to, that needs a house to buy or sell? It gives you just another 3 or 4 people a week that you can call and also just keep in touch with them. But if they're not in front of you, if you're not focused on it, you're going to tend to forget, and you're relying on your memory, your calendar, or if you have a CRM where you can put those reminders in, that's great. But the average agent starting off, may not have those systems in place yet. So it's just a quick manual system for you to track your current business or even prospects. Maybe I just talked to a great buyer at an open house. I can put them on the buyer prospect list. And again, each week it just gives me a quick, hey, who do I need to call this week to stay in relationship with? This isn't everybody, it's just my top prospects. Kind of my A or B list, if you will. Okay.
What's a CRM?
Contact management system, so kind of like database, so like your e-edge or stuff like that. And then the last form that I have is forms that I might use with my coaching clients that is very detailed as far as it kind of mirrors Ignite a little bit, and how I want to track activities. And if you have a mentor, especially right now, this is a sheet that your mentor might ask you for or ask you to track. And so what you're going to do each week is write down how many days did you work, how many hours did you lead generate, how many connections, that means people you physically talk to about real estate, how many of those did you get entered into your database or your contact management system, did you put them on some sort of a touch system, so 33 touch, 8x8 or 12, did you give them a handwritten note, how many total letters did you mail that week? How many listing appointments did you go on, taken, right, by your agency sign, kind of some of the standard stuff. And then at the very bottom, it also tracks canceled appointments, how many open houses did you hold, listings that are expiring in the next 30 days, because again, those should be on your focus because you've got to go relist them. And same thing with buyer agency agreements that you might have expiring, how many closed sales, and your gross commission income for the week, if you did have a closed sale. And that's it. So these are just basic forms. They might feel a little complicated, but they're really not, to help you just kind of track your business and get started. And the business planning clinic, once you have some of this data saved, it'll be so much easier to plan for your business for next year.